My name is Greg Eastman. I'm the president of the Littleton Industrial Development Corporation. Thank you everyone for coming tonight to the first Littleton Capital Adventure Competition. This is a partnership between the Littleton Industrial Development Corporation and the Littleton Area Chamber of Commerce. Nearly 10 years ago, LIDC started working on the concept of an incubator in Littleton. And more recently, we've had some discussions specifically with Jamie Coughlin from the Venture Capital Incubator at Dartmouth, and also with Professor Michael Tentonowski, the Executive Director of the Enterprise Center in Plymouth. And largely on Michael's suggestion, we're here this afternoon. One of the first steps in looking for and putting together an incubator is having a competition such as this. I would like to thank the boards of directors from LIDC and the Littleton Area Chamber of Commerce. And specifically, I'd like to thank Chris Sheely and Lauren Anderson for their leadership in this partnership to get us here this afternoon. I'd like to say good luck to all the participants and thank you all for coming. I'd now like to introduce Lauren Anderson, the Executive Director of the Littleton Area Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
In its inaugural year, the Capital Adventure Challenge is designed to help Littleton's entrepreneurship community grow and flourish, with a small business plan competition that encouraged innovative ideas and strong entrepreneurial spirit within our region, as you will soon see. We are proud to have partnered with the Littleton Industrial Development Corporation to welcome members of the community, entrepreneurial advisors, and angel investors to the historic Littleton Opera House this afternoon. Our competitors' adventure towards entrepreneurial greatness began this past January. The Capital Adventure Challenge is designed to support small businesses within their first 3 years of opening, making less than $100,000 in annual revenue with business support, and for the winner, a cash grant to be used for business purposes. In 2015, the grand prize winner will receive a $4,000 grant. Runner-up will receive a grant of $1,000. And our People's Choice winner, voted on by you, the audience, tonight will walk away with a $500 cash grant. Along with the grant generously sponsored by the Littleton Industrial Development Corporation, our partners and sponsors have worked together to give each of our prize winners over $750 in business services. Now let me be the first to say, no adventure worth doing is easy. The Capital Adventure participants went through 5 competitive rounds to get before you today. During round 1, contestants were told to simply give us 5 words that describe your business concept. Just 5, be creative and innovative. As you can imagine, 5 words to tell a stranger about your entire business concept is a challenge. In the end, 30 participants were welcomed to round 2. February brought our contestants to round 2. Some of the best ideas started as napkin sketches. So we asked our contestants to show us theirs with instructions. Take a photo of your business concept sketched on a napkin. Artistic skills don't count, but creativity does. Show us what you got. As you can see, the competitors did not lack in creativity. I went back a slide, I apologize for that. Round 3 is where the hard work really started. An executive summary is a crucial part of any business plan. It is usually the first part of the plan that prospective investors will read, and it must be interesting and concise. Getting the executive summary right is crucial for any business looking for investment and funding. Only 15 competitors made it through this round. During round 4, we asked competitors to bring out the big guns, their business plans. Planning is one of the most important parts of running a business, no matter whether it is a large multinational corporation trying to plan an expansion or a small business plan launching an exciting new product. More than that, it is a necessity when seeking funding. This round served as both the final cut, only the 7 contestants before you accomplished the task excellently, and the introduction of the competitors to the judges, who have already scored the written portion of the contestants' business plans. Finally, we stand here tonight with 7 amazing competitors with very diverse backgrounds that shine through their business concepts. I know they are practiced, ready, and waiting, so I'll let them introduce themselves to you. For now, it is my honor to introduce our amazing panel of judges who have been with our competitors since the 4th round. And I'll ask the judges to stand when I call your name. Our first talented judge this evening is Leah Carey. Leah is a writer and editor for the Caledonian Record suite of newspapers distributed locally as a White Mountain Record. Each week she writes the Business Watch column that chronicles businesses in the area that are opening, closing, and making other changes. In this capacity, she speaks with other business owners every week and is often immediately clear which entrepreneurs have a business plan and which don't. Outside the paper, Leah is also a multi-passionate entrepreneur who writes, speaks, and facilitates workshops that help people to share their personal stories in a way that creates healing for both themselves and their community. Our next esteemed judge is Michael Tanowski. Michael is the Executive Director of the Enterprise Center at Plymouth, a business incubator accelerator connected with Plymouth State University. Prior to joining the ECP, Michael consulted with business and industry primarily in the high-tech arena. He has been involved with business development for startup companies for over 20 years and has expertise in commercializing defense technologies, promoting renewable energy initiatives, and in entrepreneurial ventures. Complementary experience include Director of the Incubator Programs at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, or RPI, Executive Director of the Physical Science Institute at New Mexico State University, Vice President of an e-commerce energy trading platform, presenter and trainer for 5 small business development centers, and teaching graduate-level business courses at 7 universities. Michael also co-authored the book entitled The Virginia Entrepreneur's Guide and has practical knowledge by way of starting and managing 2 successful small businesses. I'm also very excited to introduce Marilyn Cooper. As the Executive Director of WREN, or the Women's Rural Entrepreneurial Network, since 2006, Marilyn Cooper displays creative resourcefulness in her leadership skills and maintains a strong belief in taking action. Her background in writing and marketing has helped to publicize WREN and engage the community. As WREN's director, she engineered the nonprofit organization's Bethlehem Expansion Project, which included an outdoor market, a second facility for offices and incubator business spaces. She was also responsible for the launching of WREN's Berlin operation with a highly successful farmers market, ongoing programming, and most recently the purchase of a Main Street building for the WREN Works Maker Studio. During her tenure, WREN's annual operating budget has tripled, and the number of employees has grown to over 20. Marilyn was the president of WREN's board of directors from 2000 to 2005, during which time she was a participant in the Women's Self-Employment Project Fusions Management Collaborative. Quite a bit. A graduate of the Institute of Nonprofit Management, she brings directing, managerial, and marketing skills from her former employment in the corporate world. Before joining WREN's staff, she worked as a copy director of Garnet Hill for many years. Since then, she has continued to freelance copy for several well-known catalogs. She's also the author of several very good, I might add, mystery novels, recently published and available at Amazon.com. Next, I'm honored to introduce Jamie Cornell, Managing Partner of Fiduciary Partners, LLC, a private investment consulting, advisory, and assessment management firm based in Boston. Prior to forming Fiduciary Partners, Mr. Cornell spent 4 years as the managing director of the Baller Group, LLC, and Spinnaker Capital, LLC, one of the largest multifamily offices in the U.S. and one of the top 25 SEC registered investment advisors. Mr. Cornell was a member of the investment committee and was responsible for setting asset allocation, investment policy, multi-goal plans, manager review and evaluation, and the management of public portfolios. Mr. Cornell spent most of his career at Fidelity Investments as president of the Fidelity Private Wealth Management and Portfolio Advisory Services. Mr. Cornell was responsible for the development of Fidelity's suite of portfolio and investment planning tools, including portfolio portfolio analysis, portfolio planner, and retirement income planner. Mr. Cornell began his career in Fidelity Ventures, Fidelity Capital, where he served as CEO of 3 of the portfolio companies. Mr. Cornell was also co-founder of Into the Fog, a private peer-to-peer investment group of 20 of the largest family offices in New England. He is a candidate for the Chartered Alternative Investment Analyst designation. He holds the Certified Investment Management Analyst and Certified Hedge Fund Professional designations. He is also a member of the Investment Management Consultants Association. Mr. Cornell is also the chair of Tiger 21, North America's leading peer-to-peer learning network for ultra-high net worth investors. Tiger 21 follows the successful model of pooling collective intelligence from successful entrepreneurs and business leaders who meet monthly to exchange investment ideas and share personal experience on a broad range of wealth-related topics. In addition to serving as a professional networking and educational platform, Tiger 21 offers members unique access to direct and LP investment opportunities, private equity, real estate, and hedge funds. He is also actively involved in a number of for-profit and non-profit boards, including Sedgcara, Covester, Resolute Ventures, Clearbrook Capital, and the Pennington Human Dynamics, among others. Mr. Cornell attended UNC Chapel Hill and Harvard Business School on a Fidelity-sponsored executive MBA. He is engaged to Stephanie Dodson, and they live in Boston's Back Bay with their 6 children. Last, but certainly not least, Chris joined the Grafton County Economic Development Council as CEO this spring. Grafton County Economic Development Council is a 501c3 economic development organization that provides financial, workforce, and technical assistance to communities and businesses within the Grafton County. Prior to joining GCEDC, Chris worked for the New Hampshire Division of Economic Development as a business development specialist and for the City of Manchester's Economic Development Office, where he oversaw business recruitment, retention, and marketing efforts for the city. Chris received a bachelor's degree in kinesiology and a master's degree in public administration from the University of New Hampshire. Chris recently ended his term as board president for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Manchester and currently serves on the board of directors for the Manchester Young Professionals Network, where he co-chairs the 2015 New Hampshire Startup Challenge and oversees the Corner Office Connection Program. In 2014, Chris was recognized by the New Hampshire Union Leader as a 40 Under 40 award recipient, the Manchester Young Professionals Network as their 2014 Young Professional of the Year, and the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Manchester as their Volunteer of the Year. Chris lives in Manchester with his dog Maddie. Thank you, and please a big round of applause to the judges tonight. And finally, none of this competition would be possible without the generous support of our sponsors through this afternoon, including Union Bank, NFP Benefits Insurance and Wealth Management, the Enterprise Center at Plymouth State University, Pasumsic Savings Bank, Samaha Russell and Hodgson, the talented board members at the Littleton Area Chamber of Commerce, and of course our partners at the Littleton Industrial Development Corporation, who without this event would never have been conceived. Thank you so much, and I will turn it over to Carrie Gendro to introduce our contestants.
Thank you, judges, and we also thank you as audience members for being here tonight because you can cheer the presenters on. Before we get started, though, I know Lauren had said that the presenters went through quite a few months of challenges, and it reminds me of the story of Martha and Stumpy. They're from Maine, and they went to the Caledonia County Fair one year, and Stumpy wanted to go on one of the airplane rides. And Martha says, but Stumpy, it's $10, and $10 is a lot of money. And then Stumpy said, but Martha, I'm going to be 70 years old, and if I don't go on that there airplane ride, chances are I ain't never going. So they started bickering back and forth about the $10. Finally, the pilot stepped in and he said, you know what, I'll take you up there, as long as you don't say a word. I mean, nothing, not a peep or nothing. So Martha says, good deal, Stumpy, let's go. So they loaded in just as soon as they got their seatbelt strapped on. The pilot took off. He went flying up in the air. He flipped over, flipped back, dove down, flipped over, flipped, nothing, not a word. So he said to himself, I'm going to do this again. So he went straight up, straight down, flipped over, flipped back, still not a word. So he landed the plane, and he said, I got to tell you, once they were landed, he said, I got to tell you, I just took you on the wildest airplane ride ever, and you didn't say a word. And Stumpy says, well, I was going to say something when Martha fell out, but $10 is Now, what's that got to do with our presenters? Well, they've been on a wild ride these last few months, and they've hung on. They've hung on, and they're here to share their business plan with you tonight. So we're very appreciative of you being here. My job is to and my husband's job as timekeeper is to keep us on track. So this is how it's going to work this evening. I will introduce each presenter by name and their business. They will have 7 minutes to share. There'll be a PowerPoint, they'll explain what their business is about. Then the judges will have 7 minutes to ask questions, and the presenters can answer at that time. Then the presenter or the judges will have 5 minutes to share comments, and the presenters will not have an opportunity to respond at that point. So that's how each presenter will go through the process. After each presenter, you can vote using your phone or wait to the very end. We'll explain that as we go. Lauren will tell you as far as numbers or whatever. We will hear from 4 presenters and then take a 10-minute break. The restrooms, if those of you who have not been here before, it's to your right, that hallway there, either through the back door, or I guess that door there would be the best. To your right, down the hallway, where the restrooms are. We will take a 10-minute break. We will come back after break and hear from our final 3 presenters. After the final presenter is done, the panel will dismiss themselves, our judges will dismiss themselves, and you as an audience will vote either by phone or paper ballot for the People's Choice Award. During this time of voting, I will bring the 7 presenters back up here, and I will ask them questions about their experience going through this process, challenges, opportunities, motivation type questions. So you'll be able to hear what kind of went on behind the scenes with their adventure. The awards will be presented once all the tallying is done. So let's get going. Our first presenter is Meg Brown of Megabug Photography. Let's welcome Meg.
Do you remember dreaming about what you wanted to be when you grew up? What about all the times you changed your mind? In kindergarten, I wanted to be a veterinarian. By 4th grade, I had my heart set on becoming a writer. But less than 1 year later, on a trip to the Grand Canyon, I discovered what my passion was. My mom had given me a film camera, one of those green Fujifilm disposable ones. The Grand Canyon was stunning and very different from here in the mountains. I was captivated by its magnitude, and for the first time, I really took a picture. Unfortunately, I lost that roll of film, but my first digital camera was under the Christmas tree that year, and this is one of the first pictures I took with it. I started as a hobby photographer, capturing whatever piqued my interest. The excitement of placing first at the Deerfield Fair encouraged me to expand my reach, which led me to enter this photo in the New Hampshire Governor's Lilac and Wildflower Commission photography contest. I placed 4th out of 800. Learning film photography in manual camera settings in high school allowed me to slow down and really focus on the image I was trying to capture. I was 16 years old when choosing what you want to be when you grow up is necessary. After interning with a local wedding photographer that same year, I learned that I was also meant to be an entrepreneur. Moving forward to my college years, I was working in the loan department at a local bank reviewing mortgage files. Schedule Cs kept popping up, planting the idea deeper in my mind. Not long after, I went ahead and formed an LLC, naming it Megabug after my car. A few months after my business papers came in, I was asked to photograph Littleton Regional Healthcare. My photos can be seen on the billboard in Bethlehem, and it is the shoot I am most proud of. Now, after being in business for 1.5 years, I've come to specialize in senior portraits, engagement, weddings, and business shoots. Photography is highly competitive, so I focus on what I'm good at and where my competitive advantages lie. First, I now have over 9 years of experience. I've taken photography workshops and upgraded my equipment when I reached the limit of what mine could do. At this point, I feel confident in the quality of photographs that I take, in the camera gear I own, and in my ability to use it. Of course, other pros are the same, but many photographers trying to make their hobby into a business are not. Furthermore, photographers in our area focus on natural light, meaning they shoot outdoors in the sun. Sunlight is absolutely the most beautiful form of light, but begrudgingly, I learned studio lighting as well. After shooting a few products in my light box, a sampling of which you'll see later at Wagsley Muddleston's presentation, I discovered that I love product photography. When researching competition for my business plan, I didn't come across any photographers in this region that offer it a competitive advantage. A marketing research class also helped me discover a few other competitive advantages. For my final project, I was researching if I should add wedding photography to my list of services and included a question in my survey that asked respondents whether they'd be willing to pay below, around, or above the national average for wedding photography, which is $2,440. Not surprisingly, 43.4% answered below, but another 43.4% answered around. The wedding photographers I found physically located in this market area charge above the national average, but they tend to attract clients from southern New Hampshire and northern Massachusetts, areas with a higher per capita income. I then found my niche market, us. I love living here, and I can't imagine running my business anywhere else. Because of this, I've strived to set a price that's fair for me and affordable to the market I serve. Another perk I give clients is a quick turnaround time. I've seen other photographers take 2 or even 3 months to deliver wedding photos, while my efficiencies have allowed me to do the same in 3 weeks, 2 for business and portrait services. Finally, I grant clients full reproduction rights, meaning they are allowed to print the photos wherever they like. This saves both them and myself time, money, and frustration. So at this point, I have developed my lines of business, discovered my competitive advantages, and feel confident in the quality of my work. Yet, I was disappointed that I wasn't booking as many shoots as I would have liked. So I took a few moments and I really thought about why and what I could do to increase my revenue. And then it hit me. I could be the best photographer in the North Country, but if people don't know about me, they're not going to hire me. Thus, my marketing plan. Knowing your target market is essential. I've established that mine is the middle to lower middle class. Age and gender doesn't really matter, as a couple in their 20s may want engagement photos just as much as a couple in their 70s wants 50th anniversary photos. I set my physical boundaries to a 125-mile radius of where I live, so my strategy is to begin advertising in the Littleton area and expanding outward. At this point, there seems to be less competition in Lincoln and Berlin, so I will include these towns in my current plan. For the wedding line of business, I have created a professional profile on Wedding Wire, one of the top wedding planning websites in the U.S. I have also taken out a print advertisement in White Mountain Bride, a bridal magazine based here in the North Country. Additionally, I have been active on social media and priced out flyers. I plan on posting the latter on bulletin boards found at local post offices, banks, restaurants, etc., and creating handouts specifically for senior portraits, which I will distribute at local high schools. A lover of nonprofits, especially those involving cats, I often donate photo shoots or fine art prints to raffles and silent auctions as well. This has given me exposure and even referrals. Along with expanding my physical reach, I'd like to increase the lines of business I love and have competitive advantages in, including product photography
1 minute, Meg.
and the fine art print market. Seeing my photos on display in art galleries also increases my exposure. I had one photo featured last week at 42 Maple in Bethlehem. To account for the times when business is slow, I have also taken up a part-time job and am teaching photography at the Littleton Studio School this summer. Eventually, I'd love to mesh my English degree with my business and pursue magazine shoots and photojournalism. But for now, I love being an entrepreneur photographer. One of the most important life lessons I've learned so far is that your job has to start with passion and be something that you love doing. I'm fortunate to have a head start, and it all comes from being able to answer the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Thank you.
So judges, it goes to you for questions, and please phrase your questions in the form of a question. So who would like to start? Do you want to, Mike?
We're going to go to breakdown.
Okay, all right. So Chris?
All right, I think this is working. All right, perfect. That was a wonderful presentation. I did have one question regarding your strategy for advertising in newspapers. Does your strategy include any other mediums or forms? And do you think that that's the best form of advertisement to the segment that you're trying to reach, which is the lower to middle class?
Yeah, I definitely have to keep in mind my target market, and I know from my marketing major that print advertisements generally cost more than what they're worth. So I've really looked at the local print mediums that we have and have thought thoroughly about which ones I'd like to advertise in. So White Mountain Bride, where I just took out that ad, it's focused right here in the North Country for bridal. It's a very specific target market, which is what I'm trying to attract. And also, the Ren zine, I'd like to start advertising in as well. I have a listing on their business directory, but there are plenty of crafty people and people in my target market who read the Ren zine, so those are the print advertisements that I'd really like to focus on.
You mentioned in your presentation that, I'm sorry, I just forgot my question. No, that's okay, I just remembered. You mentioned that you weren't happy with the number of bookings that you're getting. How many are you currently getting, and what do you hope to get? What's your goal?
Well, I'm fortunate. After submitting my business plan, I had written my goal was to schedule 2 weddings, and I've already done that. And I think one of the biggest reasons as well was up to last December, I was really occupied with working and going to school. I've since graduated, so I have more time to promote, and I've seen more bookings since then. So I think I'm on the right path.
So I was wondering about your investment potential in whether you're looking for external funding. I didn't hear anything in the presentation that suggested that, so I'm wondering about organic growth versus investment.
I don't really think I'd like to take out a business loan. I'm at that point in my life where I'm really trying to keep loans small, but in order to grow my business, I do understand there's potential for that being necessary. So in my business plan, I had chosen the number $3,000 as the perfect amount of an affordable loan that I could pay back, and also one that would benefit my business the most. So with my business, equipment is the most expensive, and it's an upfront cost, and it takes a long time to save up for that equipment. But I've run into the problem where I'm operating with one lens, and I've had to send it to Canon camera to be repaired. So right now, for the next 2 weeks, I'm stuck, and I don't want to be in this position again. So in regards to funding, I definitely like to take that, invest in some more equipment, invest in my marketing plan, and also take more workshops, because learning about photography helps me use the equipment the best to its capabilities.
So I think you just answered my question, which was, what if you win the $4,000, what would you do with it? Do you want to just outline that quickly again?
I would be thrilled, of course. I think I'd have a little celebration, and then just jump into what I had written in my business plan. I'd like to purchase a 24 to 70 millimeter lens, which is, it's pretty good for events, seeing as I'm doing so many wedding photography services this summer. I'd also like to pay money to have those flyers produced. Based on my business plan, I'll have enough net income at the end of this year to afford doing that, but at the moment I do not, because it's right before the busy period. So having that money up front will be incredibly helpful, and I'm not sure if I could be as successful with my goals without it.
I give you a lot of credit for an entrepreneurial business plan, but I think what it brings with it is key man risk. And so have you thought at all about trying to partner with another person in the event you want to try to grow this business, because otherwise you're limited to how many jobs you can handle at any one point in time? I
have, actually. There's a photographer who lives the town over from me, and we've done a few things together, and we've also talked about collaborating, especially in the wedding market, because many people would like a photographer and a second shooter to cover all aspects of the business. And her and I, we had just added wedding photography to our services, and it's definitely much more in-depth than regular photography services are. So we think that maybe in the future it might be a good idea to do.
Other questions, judges?
If you were to not win tonight, what would you do in lieu of the $4,000 prize?
I would still stick with my plan, and I think that even if I don't win, being here is an incredible opportunity and experience, and I know all the other competitors would agree with me. Just having my name in the newspaper and being up here and promoting my business is a huge jump in just promoting who I am. So I'm definitely on track with having flyers printed, and I've also done a few Facebook posts. So what that means is I target a specific market, and my post is boosted so more people on Facebook can see it, and I've had quite a positive feedback from that. So just sticking with marketing is my main priority right now.
So I just want to congratulate you on your entrepreneurial spirit. You certainly have the passion, and I think you'll be successful whether it's in this venture or later in life. But my question is around the 125-mile radius. How many competitors are in that space?
A lot. Photography is a very saturated market, which is why I'm really focusing on what my competitive advantages
We've got 1 minute.
what my competitive advantages are. But fortunately, when choosing that 125-mile radius, it stretches down into southern New Hampshire. And I grew up in southern New Hampshire, and the majority of the likes on my Facebook page originate from there, and I still have family living there, so it's not out of my reach to do some shoots down there. So at this point, I'm not marketing down there as of yet. I'd still like to conduct more market research of the surrounding area. That's just a goal of mine, but right now I'm focusing on this little bubble.
Another quick question from the judges? Okay, now we'll move into the 5-minute segment where you, as the judges, can now offer comments to Meg, and she cannot respond. So you can make those comments, but no questions. Who would like to be first?
So I think I just did earlier, so sorry I went out of order.
Congratulations, I think you've done a terrific job. I'm impressed by the fact that you want to serve a lower income market. That seems like a fairly unusual choice, and one that puts you in a place where your audience is not being tapped. And I think that that really can be a very smart choice. So congratulations.
I also like the fact that when you're starting out your business, you sometimes you want to be, you don't always want to give your services out for free because sometimes it devalues it. However, I think you can make smart decisions, give it out in raffles and other things that benefit nonprofits. That's a great way to do it. And similar, if you're trying to break into the wedding market, I don't know if you've generated any revenue from that yet. Maybe doing free engagement photos and then moving in. I know some of my friends took advantage of that, and it does help a younger market that is looking for money, but then it will give you something that then you sign an agreement with them. Since you're giving it to them for free, you can use them in all your advertising. And so I think that might be another great way. But I commend you on the way you're trying to help nonprofits in it, because that's something that I think is important to a lot of people as well that might be using your services.
I'd like to say that I think you're really smart not to quit your day job. I think that's, in the North Country, that's one of the most important things you can do, is keep a steady income while you grow what it is you want to do. And so that shows that you're clear thinking, and you know, that's a great way to start your success. I would say that you might want to consider diversifying some of the things that you want to offer. You know, the North Country has a small population. You know, as you know, not a lot of weddings. Think about other kinds of photography that you can do, other price points and packages, and also I wouldn't write off the opportunity to take some commercial photography jobs. You know, if you could work at a photo studio somewhere, you know, I mean, if Garner Hill was staying or whatever, something like that. Because that you just grow your connections, and that's so important in the photography industry, is who you know and who you know, what you do within, because it's a very niche market, as you know. But, you know, I think your presentation was great, and I think you have a really clear idea of marketing and your financial plan.
I think the best advice I can give is kind of tough love. And so I think you've underestimated the capital intensity of this business. The cost of cameras for really strong, high-quality digital cameras is very high. I think you've underestimated the cost of a really professional website, which is what a lot of professional photographers use to distribute their images to their end clients. But I don't want you to lose your entrepreneurial spirit. I would just encourage you to pivot slightly and just think about other parallel type businesses you can get into. And I say this from firsthand experience, who has a cousin who has a photography business in Rhode Island who just closed because of basically her iPhones that used being used at weddings was taking away her business. So I think it's a very tough, very competitive business, but don't lose your instinct.
Other comments from our judges? Okay, thank you, Meg. As we're getting the next presenter mic'd up, well, I guess it's too, I was hoping can we keep the megabucks, her number up there? So you can vote by texting. If you want to wait until all the presenters are done, that's fine. But you can vote by texting 80226 to 650-600-9016. And if you don't have a phone, as we had mentioned before, no problem. Cast your vote at the welcome table. And we have ballots available to do that. Our next presenter is Gal Potashnik of Ridgeline Wilderness Resort.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Gal Potashnik, and my business is Ridgeline Wilderness Resort. Ridgeline is in the development stages, but I'm here today to get you as excited as I am about the business opportunity that lies ahead. As my friends and family can tell you, I have big dreams for Ridgeline. Wow. Sorry, having some technical difficulties here. There we go. Sorry. I have big dreams for Ridgeline, but I'd like to take a bit of your time today to walk you through the basics of the business and why I feel it has potential to make a difference in the North Country. There we go. I've got a few fun facts for you about the White Mountain National Park before we begin. It was established in 1918, and there are 8 square miles of alpine surroundings in the national park. That is the largest area east of the Rocky Mountains and south of Canada for this type of environment. We have 1,200 miles of hiking trails, and 160 of those miles are the Appalachian Trail. And the Presidential Range Wilderness alone covers 27,380 acres. Why the Presidential Range region? Well, here's the view the average tourist is greeted with when coming into this area. Breathtaking, isn't it? And with some motivation and a bit of physical exertion, this is the view the Presidential Range can afford anyone looking to experience it. A wide range of adventure-seeking folks come from near and far to experience the Whites, and if you've never been up a 4,000-footer, I've given you a small glimpse into what makes this area so special. This experience is what Ridgeline is looking to capture for our visitors. The feeling people get when they're here to take in the beauty of our area, the unique experience our region enriches our visitors with, is what we plan to bring to our guests without having to push up to the top of a mountain. First and foremost, the mission of Ridgeline, as you can see, is to promote the accessibility, preservation, and enjoyment of the Presidential Range region of the White Mountains by providing shuttle service and shelter to four-season outdoor enthusiasts, as well as childhood educational workshops for the local community. Essentially, we plan to give our customer a way to connect with the outdoors that is not currently available in our region, and give back to our local community to help preserve our natural environment. We are already starting to talk to local community business leaders and educators to begin forming a plan for how to execute both ends of our vision. But before we get to that, let's talk about the why. You can clearly see where the pull is for the roughly 2.7 million people that come through the Whites each year. And I was one of those people not that long ago. The idea for Ridgeline Wilderness Resort has its roots in the same love of nature that's been the cornerstone of what's made me fall for the area. But without having an outdoor experience at a young age, my passion may not have grown the way it has. This is where love of community comes in for me. The idea for the business started with a lifelong love of the outdoors and a great admiration for the local community. Having found a way to bring the two together is the perfect marriage of building and giving back to both the local and outdoor communities. We hope to provide lessons led by local guides and outdoor educators in local botany and entomology, animal tracking, basics of shelter building, leave no trace, and hiking preparedness, to name a few. So I've kind of hit you over the head with nature and how much I love it, but there's good reason for that. I want you to understand the experience people travel here for. The White Mountain region is easy to appreciate. Once you hit the notch, it doesn't take much more than looking out a window to see some truly breathtaking views. The connection with nature is as easy as walking out your front door. The opportunity to bring visitors to the region, as well as help educate our local community, is what really excites us about Ridgeline. Now, we do realize the competition is deep in this area, but as someone who's tried and failed to get a simple site on a random summer weekend, I truly believe there is room for Ridgeline. How will we be different? We plan to sell the wilderness experience. We aren't a campground. We specifically chose Wilderness Resort to make our customer realize we are completely different than our competitors. To start, accommodations will be designed specifically to make our guests feel as they are completely alone. There will be 20 platform tent sites, some of which will have lean-tos and hammock poles, and 2 cabins, all with 4-season availability. We will also provide environmentally conscious bathrooms and shower facilities, Wi-Fi, fire pits and grills, and the kicker, a shuttle service to and from Appalachia parking lot twice a day, as well as a pack check where for a nominal fee, through and section hikers can leave their gear while running errands. We've all been camping in this environment. The smell and sound of this kind of camping works for some, but our client is looking for the feeling of this. We plan to design our sites so that they are accessible and private. We know the area intimately and have spent years researching hikes and activities, so we know we can give our guests service beyond a courteous smile. Our shuttle service will make getting to the Randolph area hikes as easy as rolling out of bed or a sleeping bag and jumping in to be whisked away to your day's hike. When you're done, we'll be there to pick you up and take you back to your site or cabin where you can take a hot shower and cook dinner over an open fire. When you lay down to rest for the night, the sound of peepers can lull you to sleep. The quiet will afford you a solid night's rest, letting you wake up invigorated and ready for your next adventure.
1 minute, gone.
We feel our customer will pay a premium price to experience the Whites in this way. We plan to build excitement through social media and a web presence, showing the build and telling our story to our market. And this priming will allow for bookings to begin before our doors even open. Thank you for letting me tell you our story, and we hope that this is the beginning of something big in the North Country for Ridgeline and our surrounding communities.
Thank you, Gone. Judges, you can start asking the questions.
Have you identified a location, a specific piece of land yet?
So we're still in the midst of looking for land. I've made a couple of contacts with people that can hook me up with other people that may have land, but we're definitely in the development stages. We definitely have kind of honed in on the Randolph area because we feel that that region is underserviced, but it's not, there's no set plan quite yet.
So I have a double question. One is on permitting or regulatory issues that might exist, and the second one that is related is liability issues for your clients.
Can you be more specific as to the question at hand?
Which one?
Either, both.
So since everyone needs to have a White Mountains pass to park at the trailheads, and then they have certain liability issues if they get lost, and if they need to be helicoptered out. Do you assume that liability for them, and how do you handle those aspects of it?
Gotcha, thank you for clarifying. So there is something called a Hike Safe Pass currently being sold by Fish and Game, and those are pretty cheap. They're $25 or so. Because that's a relatively new concept in the hiking world. I hadn't thought to offer that, but that's definitely something that could be offered. We are not going to take on any liability outside of being there to pick you up and being there to drop you off. That is essentially it. We're not a concierge. I wouldn't be guiding necessarily, although that is something that we could kind of go into. But yeah, no liability on our end.
I have a few questions. So who exactly is your competition up here?
So because there isn't really anyone else doing a shuttle service outside of the AMC, we don't have specific competition. That's not to say there is none. The KOA, there's a ton of campgrounds around. But the reason that I think that there is room for us is because we're sort of looking for a niche market. Somebody that isn't looking for that specific experience, more of a wilderness feeling without necessarily having to go up to the AMC huts.
So can you tell us more about who you think this customer is? I mean, who exactly is your target market and how will you reach them?
So I've heard a lot of people talk about how they wish that they could afford to stay at an AMC hut, or they would love to be able to find somewhere where they aren't crowded in a campground. That's our customer. The customer that is looking for the kind of wilderness experience that really just takes them out of the everyday. It could be somebody down the street or someone 300 miles away in Massachusetts. And really, I think the easiest way currently to find our customers is on the web. But we also are extremely involved with some of the local retailers for outdoor equipment and whatnot. So there's an opportunity there as well to collaborate with some local businesses.
One last question.
Sure.
Approximately how much do you think a night would cost at your campground?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we did a little bit of research, and the average was anywhere between $20 and $30 a night or so, and we kind of came in right in the middle at $25 a night for a two-person, and any adults over that would be $10 a person.
So I'm a loyal AMC member and hut goer with my kids, and so I don't think it's a bad thing for them to have competition because it forces them to raise their game as well, which I think is a good thing. But I guess my question comes more around capital. This is a very capital-intensive business with $347,000 required for startup, and so you didn't talk about sources of capital, but I think that who you raise the capital from and their expected return is very, very important. In the financials you project, there is no return on that capital.
Jamie, are you asking her in the form of a question at this point?
Have you thought about where you're getting the money and how you're going to pay it back?
Yes. The money is something that I've thought a lot about, actually, and it's absolutely true. We do need quite a bit of capital. I think that there are opportunities for actually finding and acquiring land that wouldn't necessarily be buying, which would take a significant chunk out of the need that we have. But as far as investments go, I just really need to do a lot more research as far as what investors are willing to, how they're willing to collaborate with us. We are not against talking about equity sharing and that kind of thing.
How long do you think your season can be? Do you envision this being a year-round opportunity?
Yes, absolutely. I think that there is a need for four-season camping. It's something, as a person who's actually worked in the temporary lodging business in this area for a while, I've heard quite a few people request it, and there really just isn't anywhere to do it outside of a hut on the top of the mountain or, Joe Dodge Lodge, that kind of thing. There are no tent sites. So the idea is to stay open year-round, at least to start, and then kind of see
1 minute.
where we can go from there.
And what are the differentiating factors that you're looking when you're looking at land that's going to set you apart from your competitors? Because, that's a comment.
So the perfect parcel of land would have some elevation gain so that we could get a little bit of that feeling of being in the mountains. Not 100% necessary, but really what sets us apart is making sure to design the site itself so that you do feel like you're alone. the whole experiences to make you feel like you're out in the middle of the woods, but your neighbor is not that far away.
If you were to win the $4,000 tonight, what are your plans with it? And also, if you weren't to win the $4,000 tonight, what's your alternative?
So if we were to win the $4,000, having said I need quite a bit more than that.
That's time. Now we move into the comments from the judges. Who would like to start?
I think it's a great concept, but you have mentioned a few different times you need to do a little more research, or you've only done enough, so I think you still have a lot to do. I think Michael brought up some great points about liability and permitting. I do have experience in our resources department here, and then just from going out, and there are a lot of hurdles you're going to need to. And you know, one of the points I was making with where you're going to look is if you're a mile away off the trailhead, you're probably going to have to plow that road. That is going to be a huge expense to be able to get up there, and it's not generally something that someone that does your driveway is going to do. But and that's a small piece of the other things you need to look into. So just really looking at your market, what is feasible for price based on what all your expenses are going to be.
I think that your idea is a great one, and I got really excited reading about it. The financials were kind of missing from this presentation, and they weren't entirely clear in the business plan. I think that Jamie mentioned also that there's you said how much you need, but there's not a real clear idea of where that's going to come from, nor did I see any plan for paying that investment back. So that is a little bit of a concern when I'm thinking about making an investment.
So I'm going to just mirror that in that if you look at, say, $50 per person over a relatively short time frame for most individuals that are the 2 or 3 season hikers, then that return on investment, once again, is difficult for me to comprehend because it's way far out if I do my quick math. And therefore, I agree that the investment opportunity may not be there, but the potential for this business to go forward may, and so it may have to be homegrown.
Yeah, I think I would speak to the seasonality and sustainability again. For all of us here, seasonality is an issue. There's big time off seasons, whether it's winter or mud season or whatever, and particularly in any kind of outdoor industry, you know, it's going to be weekends. It's going to be, you know, you're going to need, you need to show how you're going to sustain this business and how that your, you know, an investment is going to really pay off, and you know what your plan is for that. I also, the shuttle is also. I'm not sure that's a selling point, but more of a benefit, and I may not, maybe it shouldn't be your first focus.
When looking at investments like these, I think 2 of the really important criteria are tax revenues you can generate for the region and also jobs. And so I would just encourage you, when you think about a business like this that's very capital intensive, to do a property that could have 10, 20, 30 of these cabins and not just 4 or 5, because that would allow you to scale the kind of the core people that need to be serviced in the business, and that could give you a greater both tax revenue and employment opportunity.
Other comments from our judges? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dawn. Again, Ridgeline Wilderness Resort, vote by texting 80227. We will have all of these numbers up at the end of the presentations. Our next presenters are Lane and Merrill Nevins of Prospect Farms.
Lane's just getting his mic hooked up, so I'll start ahead without him. Prospect Farm is a grass-based farmstead dedicated to raising heritage breed livestock in Lisbon, New Hampshire. Our goal is to provide accessible and affordable grass-fed meat to the community.
Our style of farming is based on holistic management using intensive rotational grazing. This means we move poultry, rabbits, goats, cattle, and pigs, all on pasture in a way that promotes the health of the soil and the health of the animal and the meat that they produce. We pride ourselves on being 100% natural.
We have developed an innovative approach to providing a high-quality, safe, and socially conscious meat product. This product allows for a dynamic marketing opportunity as the natural and local slow food movement is continuing to gain mainstream momentum.
Currently, our farm business runs a monthly membership meat program directly from the farm. In the last year, we produced nearly 10,000 pounds of meat. With 1 year under our belts, we're ready to expand to the wholesale market and hungry for success. Specifically, we've been approached by the general manager of the Littleton Food Co-op to be their local pork producer. There's a large portion of potential clientele that we can now serve directly from the farm. Supplying to the co-op, a store where our target market regularly shops, will make our meat accessible to those who cannot drive to our farm on a regular basis. Located just 10 miles from the co-op, we are in close proximity to the end consumer. Because the co-op is planning for a building expansion, we have recently completed market research to better understand what areas that they should grow according to profitability. That research shows that natural and local foods are the products to expand in, especially the meats. Currently, the co-op does not have a local pork producer. The demand and profit margin is what led the co-op to seek out our farm and our product.
Our product serves a purpose and fills a need. Our meats offer a healthier and more responsible option for the North Country residents. Natural products are becoming the mainstream, and their popularity will continue to grow in the years to come. Even large corporations like Shaw's or Walmart are continually expanding their natural and organic product selection to supply the demand. Our pork product is on trend, creating a unique niche and providing a product unlike anyone else's in the state. Our business faces very little competition, and we have never felt the pressure of a saturated industry. There's a large range of opportunity for our product as the North Country tourism grows to include more trend-setting establishments that focus on local and responsible food.
So what sets Prospect Farm apart? We raise specific heritage breeds that produce the most superb meat quality. We are also the only farm in the Littleton area that's a birth-to-finish operation, which allows for us to have control over our product from day one until it reaches market maturity. What makes our business even more unique is that we breed by artificial insemination. This allows for us to both work with the finest selection of breeding stock in the country and to properly manage our risk. Artificial insemination provides us with the control we need to ensure the highest rate of business success, making us economically sustainable.
For all the reasons that Lane just discussed, the meat we produce sets us apart in the culinary world. For its extraordinary makeup and the taste, it's really world class. For the gardeners or the vegetarians in the room, this is much like an organic heirloom tomato grown locally during the summer season. It tastes quite different from one that was grown conventionally and shipped 3,000 miles during the dead of winter.
Our product will continue to build traction in the market with increased exposure. Prospect Farm and the co-op working together plan to more than double production and profit within a 3-year timeline. So what makes Prospect Farm work?
We're qualified. Oh yeah. We are a husband and wife operation, which works naturally for us. For us, because we have been experienced working together for 10 years on farms and in life. We've both studied agriculture at the College of Atlantic in Bar Harbor, Maine. Lane has years of knowledge, study, and hands-on experience.
And Myrtle's worked her entire life with livestock, is well-versed in marketing, and has an enthusiastic interest in contributing to the North Country community.
We have a dream team. Outside of the direct operations of Prospect Farm, we have other supporting individuals. Keep Growing, a branch of the Amanuensis Conservation Trust in Bethlehem, assisted us in finding our farm property that provided us with the right elements that we need for a successful operation. Keep Growing only chooses to work with farmers that are viable in the region's agriculture industry and who have shown to have realistic goals that will contribute to making the North Country a superior place to live. We have also been selected by the Community Loan Fund in Concord, New Hampshire, who recently awarded us a long-term grant with a highly skilled farm-focused business consultant to assist us through this expansion.
We have the proper infrastructure that allows for growth. Our land lease includes 115 acres, a barn, the use of a tractor, tools, and wood shop. We have an excellent relationship with the landowner and would love to see us on his property for years to come.
We have a distinct and approachable branding identity and a memorable tagline. Our website is easy to use, and we have a solid social media presence that continually promotes our product. The co-op will also market our product heavily online and with signage in the store. They will provide us with a visible and consistent location in the store, which makes it easy for customers to locate and remember our product.
We are prepared and have made the necessary investments needed to provide pork to the co-op on a consistent basis.
1 minute.
We have several pigs nearly to maturity. We're in good financial standing for the partnership to begin in June.
With the success of our first wholesale relationship with the co-op, Prospect Farm will gain the credibility to open many doors and to create alliances with high-end butchers and restaurateurs. Our market research shows that there is room for continual growth, and there is opportunity at several more wholesale venues in both our direct area and the greater regions in New Hampshire and Vermont. The Adventure Small Business Plan competition funding would be reinvested into our farm's production. And if awarded the first place funding, we would be able to expand and to work with 2 additional wholesale venues by next year, bringing us closer to our ultimate goal, to serve as many members of the greater community that want good food raised the way it should be.
We're poised and eager to meet the demand.
Okay. Judges, questions?
Really nice presentation. I really, really like this idea. I think you're capitalizing on the demand for organics.
Are you going to answer that before?
But how have you thought about scaling this business beyond just this region? Because I think the demand is far beyond just this area.
Oh, it absolutely is. We have actually visited a lot of areas in Maine, looked in western Massachusetts. Certainly there's all of New Hampshire to consider and a lot of areas in Vermont. And that would certainly be our next step after we've capped out in this area.
You've covered everything really well. I guess I would just ask you, can you be a little more specific and tell us what you'd use this money for?
Specifically, what we've used this money for is to buy a couple more breeding sows and all of the infrastructure that comes along with that. So that means some fencing, housing, troughs, things like that. And that would allow us to have more pigs and continue to grow in order to reach those 2 extra venues.
Also money on hand for feed and slaughter fees along the way. It's good to have a buffer.
So perhaps I misunderstood, but do you own or lease?
We lease.
So what are the inherent risks with leasing? You said the farmer really wants you to stay there. I get that.
You can reference the appendix in our business plan. We have a letter of intent from our property owner. He was really looking for a farm to come in, and that was a big dream for him when he bought the property. So we have a really wonderful relationship with him, and you know, I think eventually we would like to own our own property, but for now we'll be in a pretty solid situation.
So great answer, right? But a letter of intent is a little bit different than a contract when you get additional monies and you add more sows and you put in fencing and everything. That's quite an investment, right? So my question goes back to, is there a contract or just this understanding?
Well, we have a lease with him, and certainly we have a lease, we live there as well. So we have a land lease and a house lease, and our lease is still for another 3 years. So
We're about to sign a 3-year lease.
Great, excellent,
Yeah.
thank you.
You mentioned in your presentation that you're, with the co-op, it would double each year. Or I don't think you said double, but that it would increase each year. My question is that something that they have demonstrated through, like, where are you getting those projections from?
So for example, we talk to the meat department at the co-op quite often, and through this expansion, they've been a wonderful resource for us. So John Oak's there. They recently just brought in a very similar situation with some beef. And they started off with a half of cow starting off, and now they can't keep enough product on hand. So they've at least doubled within, I think, the first year.
And this is a natural grass-based beef operation as well.
And we believe with the traction, you know, in the market, it will build.
And one other question. You've said what you would do if you got the $4,000. If you were to not get the $4,000, how would you go forward without that money?
Well, we're in pretty good shape as far as with the co-op. We're ready to go starting in June. If we were to not get the $4,000, we would have to take it a little bit slower with the next accounts that we take on.
You mentioned the other accounts, because in your projections it was 24,000 in 3 years, and you're supporting both yourself on that. What do you think? What do you think this can grow into? Do you envision having other farmers come on? What's the real job creation here, and what are your projections for that? And how are you going to be able to work on the farm, but then also do sales and marketing? Because it seems like that would be a huge undertaking for 2 individuals.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to bring on an employee or a couple. Certainly a farm manager that sort of oversees the daily while we handle the business and sort of the more skilled aspects of farming. But as we're at the rate that we're going right now, we definitely can handle it on our own within the next couple of years.
And if there's enough time, how the land lease that you have, how is it working with the equipment when things break down? Do you have any concept of a rent-to-own type approach? It just gets really worrying when you're working with a person and not a business.
Sure. With our equipment, if we break it, we fix it. And that is included in our business plan for...
That's in the lease agreement as well.
Yeah. As far as lease to own, that wouldn't work out in our particular situation, which is fine with us. Like I said, we have a great relationship and love being there, and if we outgrew it, I think that we would move. Yeah.
Other questions?
I just want to ask, how many hours a day do you work?
I would say...
How many hours do we sleep?
Yeah. We work, almost 12 hours for sure.
And I mean, do you see a burnout in this? I mean, anywhere along the way? Not yet.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, it's for us is a dream too. We love working with the animals, and it's such an honor to be able to do this kind of work. So we're definitely not close to burnt out yet.
Other question? All set? Okay, good. Now this is where we'll move into the 5-minute portion where you can make the comments, Jamie.
I love this idea. I think that there is incredible demand for this, and there are examples of organizations like Wegmans and Whole Foods that are creating farms to supply the demand. I would really encourage you, I think there is venture capital and angel investors out there that will back you. I would strongly encourage you to get like an advisory board and some people that can help you grow this, because you have capital intensive business with fixed expenses. The more you can put through that farm, the better.
I think that your business plan was great. I think that I think you've done an amazing job. I think you have great business sense for people who spend all day farming. I mean, it's not always a match that you find, and you're really knowledgeable. You know what needs to be done, and I think, as Jamie said, I think you need to think about scaling up, because I think you're going to be growing really, really fast.
So the only thing missing from the presentation was the theme song, The Green Acre. Actually, I do have some comments that are relevant. One, you mentioned meat product in your presentation, and that scared the heck out of me, because the first thing I thought of was Spam. And so the can, not the electronic version. And so I think you need to maybe put something more attractive. I understand what you're saying, but it's actually meat, right? It's not a meat product. So that was the one thing that caught me off guard. And the other thing is, I would caution you with Walmart, because I actually used to do lots of seminars around the country on how to survive the invasion of Walmart. And if you Google some Walmart stories about how they kill small businesses, this isn't an anti-Walmart thing, but they are very good at it. And so I have some personal experience I'd be happy to share with you afterwards, but I would caution you against that. I really like the idea of Wegmans and others that are smaller and more in tune to what local needs are.
I was really impressed with your business plan. In my work writing the Business Watch column, I speak almost every week or at least every other week, to someone who is doing something with slow food. Whether it's a restaurant that's doing exclusively farm to table, or there are so many markets for your product. And so I think you're doing the right thing at the right time. And I think that you've got your details pretty well covered. So good job.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with everyone. I think the business plan was great and the concept is great, and it's kind of where a lot of restaurants want to go and a lot of individuals want to go, you know, farm to table. So that was wonderful to see. I guess I'll just reiterate that the one thing that worried me is how reliant you are on this farm, and to make sure that you have an attorney. Sometimes it's hard. This person sounds like he's your friend, and that he sounds like a great person, but what happens if something happens to him? Where does that land go, and where does that leave you? And it could leave you in the dust, and you put in a lot of, you fixed all these machines, you put up fencing, as somebody mentioned, you have animals there. What's going to happen to all of that? And that could, you know, crush your dreams. So sometimes you need to think of a business relationship over a personal relationship. And that's my only comment, but it's really great. I think the only other piece you missed was some free samples, because that would have been really great. So get the full experience of how awesome this is. So thank you.
I would much rather invest in a partnership than an individual entrepreneur, and so I just encourage you to respect the diversity of your opinions. I would encourage you to seek advice wherever possible, and just go fast.
Thank you. The two of you together are really terrific. And I think that you're going to have an opportunity to go out and do a lot of presentations and a lot of public speaking. So I encourage you to do some work, practice on your public speaking skills, because you've got a great presentation. Okay.
And just think about branding. Why'd you call it Prospect Farm?
You can't ask a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Think of a different name.
And I just feel like I need to qualify one thing. Walmart and others are looking for natural ingredients, and a lot of times that doesn't mean organic or 100% natural. They have components, and so they're branding it and almost mislabeling it, and not just Walmart. Absolutely. Of course.
Okay, thank
Great
you.
job.
Thank you. We've got the Prospect Farm up there. Vote by texting 80228, and again, we'll have that up at the end. It's going to take just a couple seconds longer to mic up our next presenter. I thought this would be a good time to congratulate Lauren as she's heading out the door. Last night, the Business Industry Association of New Hampshire awarded Lauren an award for going above and beyond. So I think that appreciate her at the Littleton Area Chamber of Commerce as our executive director. So our next presenter is Andy Mosdale of Mosdale Integrated Solutions.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hello, I'm Andy from Mosdale Integrated Solutions. I want to start this off. I know I only have 7 minutes, but I just want to start this off with thanking the Chamber and thanking the judges. And thanking my clients for their loyalty and dedication. I do IT tech services, and I go around fixing their things, and it's been really good to establish a client base and try to move that forward in the Littleton and Vermont area. I'd also like to thank my friends and family who've kind of been with me throughout all these startup undulations. So this is just a little bit about me and Mosdale Integrated Solutions. I'm a vertically integrated company here in Littleton and in Barnet. I'm seeking some other opportunities in the make movement right now, which aligns with the tech stuff that I've been working on. So we just hit this button here. Okay, so typically what we do at Mosdale Integrated Solutions, I say we, but it's really me, soup to nuts, marketing, sales, heavy lifting work, computer networking, cloud computing, hardware and software. This all begins with the support, design, and layout of these things in a small business or individual infrastructure. That being said, I want to look at potentially exploring a creative space. It's really easy to be individual in these technical endeavors where you bring people together with different backgrounds and notions of technical space and, I guess, know-how in a common area. And you leverage the resources and tools there, the high-tech equipment and tools there with the people to potentially build and incubate other IT businesses. Okay, so we're a little off center here, but that's okay. So the compartmentalized process to create a makerspace is to develop creativity, all right? So basically you want to get people together, kind of cross-pollinating ideas in an arena that has 3D printers, laser cutters. There's actually some people in this audience who would potentially benefit from using some of these tools. That being said, it's capital intensive, and that's why I'm here. I would take $4,000, I'd take $4,500, so that's why I'm here. Okay, whoops, keep going the wrong way, sorry. So the initial phases of the makerspace I'm working on right now is to roll out and develop a space in Barnet right now, which is permitted and it's certified for 14 people occupancy, and to look at the feasibility of a space in Littleton. There's about 30,000 people who pass through this area on a daily basis, and really when you're talking about a membership-driven space, it's about warm bodies. It's about getting people in the door, getting a membership to actually cover your costs and make it sustainable. So here's the timeline, is what I'd like to do is MISS Makers. It's MISS is short for Mosaic Integrated Solutions, and the Makers is Makers. And I don't know if anyone's really privy to what Makers is, but we're all makers. If you have a shop or a garage, you're a maker. This just allows people to get together and share ideas in a place that has high-tech, high-quality resources, which potentially can sustain and incubate other things. And individual can sit at the table and compete with a large company at a very low cost, because your membership, your cost in your membership is low compared to an R&D budget of a large corporation. So, wood, metal, plastic, it could start there. This is another little background of what a makerspace or hackerspace could be viewed upon. So it's about community. And one of the reasons why I looked at this opportunity, I looked at it for one as monetary gain, and as well as to look at how we could potentially bring people together and see what's out there. See who has the next better mousetrap. That being said, to develop the creativity, we've already gone over this. I've put out a survey to see what the interests are. One of the judges, I think, mentioned it's limited in population here. There's limited demand. So how would this really look? We're still in the process of trying to get an understanding of who would show up. The demographic could be anywhere who is an industry veteran at a machine shop to STEM education middle schoolers, where they need to get a leg up in a high school that already has these technology and these things in place. So why not better provide a platform and a place for them to experiment and prototype and play and develop some other tools. So where do we go from here? We develop a space and culture. We look at membership. We partner with other spaces in the area. 80% of my people in the survey had no idea that there was other spaces around, when in fact Berlin is rolling out one. Linden Institute is rolling out one. St. John's Berry Academy has one. So there's all these things popping up. Why not create a campus model where someone who has a strength in one aspect, whether it be sewing or wearable art or plastics, can go to another space that has a strong suit in CNC machining or industrial fabrication? Why not cast a broader net and see where individuals can take their idea, become their own owner, and go to the next level? Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have some questions?
Questions from our judges?
Vertically integrated, can you explain that?
Yeah, so I'm basically a silo, although my partners really are my clients, and I get a lot of business feedback from the services I provide to them. So, soup to nuts, marketing, billing, accounts receivable, the bone breaker, everything.
So that's what you mean when you say...
Vertically integrated. I am my own person, yep.
Can I ask you to talk more about how you think this operation, this kind of operation, can sustain itself? I mean, what will membership cost be? How many a year do you think you'll get?
Yes, you want no numbers? It takes about $4,000 to keep something like this going. That's with $4,000, which I plan to use as seed money, as leverage money, to go to Kickstarter, Indiegogo. I'd love to do it Vegas style and open up a big trunk of hundreds and do my Kickstarter campaign and leverage 4,000 to get 40, because that's what it's going to take to get the capital, to kit something out where people are going to want to walk through the doors and say, that place has the most radical CNC machine, and I need to make my widgets, you know, and prototype my idea there.
So how much will it cost me to join your Makerspace?
$80 a month.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry, excuse me. I need 80 people. I need 100 people at 80 a month. That's what I need.
100 people at 80 a month?
$8,000 to run it.
Okay.
That's
And-
including a 30-hour week proctor, paying gross at $25 an hour.
And is there, have you thought about insurance? Is there some
So insurance, yes I
liability
have.
issues?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So insurance is going to be on my errors and omission through my IT firm. So I go into small businesses and I go into individual homes and I basically set up ladders and I have slip falls, so this will be a rider on that insurance.
Andy, so is a maker's mark a hobby shop? Is it a place to innovate, or is it a place to grow businesses? And how do you measure success?
It's a really good question. So it's all of those, definitely. I really foresee this as technical training and growth in production, where people can actually monetize something, and I think we're going to see it next, like these collars and these skis, and take it to the next level. And they can do that there as practice.
Great, thank you.
Just a little confused about the space itself.
Okay.
Is it multiple spaces? Is it one space with CNC machines and selected laser sintering machines and
Yeah.
all the things in polymer, in polymer worlds? Or I'm a little lost there. Help me
Okay,
out.
so the current space right now, it's in Barnack, Vermont. I think in the business plan, I likened it to agricultural renaissance or rural renaissance, right? And especially in the rural sections, everyone's an innovator. A lot of your innovators who started startups in Palo Alto and Cupertino were from the Midwest. They fixed things in the field. So the space, to answer your question, has a clean area and a dirty area, a place to code, to do some small prototyping and wiring, soldering, and then a place to make a mess, to grind metal, to make dust with saws, to make noise, potentially use engine and oil and that type of thing.
So clean and
Dirty.
dirty. So is there air handling exchangers and
Yeah, so this would be great because that's capital expense I'd be looking to seal the deal with. I mean, I have conditional use occupancy through the public safety, but yeah, there's a few other things that would be helpful.
In your presentation, I saw a slide go by that said 80% of respondents were extremely interested in this idea. In your business plan, I saw a chart that said that 50% of your respondents were moderately likely and the other 50% were slightly or not at all likely to use this. I'm confused about those two things.
Yeah, so the survey's still out there. I think I submitted that like 3 weeks ago. And I've still been, you know, pushing this out on any media channel I can. Because really, what's going to reduce my risk and make a potential partner, equity partner, angel investor, or even a lender even look at this, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, those are two different things, is to see really what the need is and how sustainable it can be. So I've been, that survey has been added, those numbers have been added to since I wrote the plan.
How do you go from 100% moderately or less likely to 80% extremely likely?
So the whole survey was redone, and so it was just a brand new question. Yeah.
This seems like I'm familiar with Makerspaces. I think Miriam is much more familiar than I am, having created one. But I'm wondering, a lot of the times they're nonprofit based, and that opens them up to being financially sustainable through grants and other means that a for-profit wouldn't. Have you looked at any for-profit models in areas that have similar demographics to the Littleton area?
Yeah, that's a really good question as well. The only one I've heard of is in the Midwest, and they basically have a wine bar and a makerspace. And the wine bar basically attracts people and have people have cheese and hang out and socialize, and there's a space nearby where they can do that type of thing. I don't know the specifics upon it, but that's what I've heard. The space I'm looking at in Littleton is down in the River District area. So you have Bad Art, you have the loading dock, Jason Torres, and these are all, I guess, kind of informal teammates, you know, as part of this startup.
1 minute.
You have Schillings, you have Littleton Studio School, and again, there's a lot of cross-pollination and I guess synergies that could happen with, you know, the studio school with the clay and the jewelry and some people who want to use high-tech machinery. Northern Lights, the two brothers there, want to start doing some music, guitar pedal prototype and fabrication, and they're going to need a space to thrash on something to see if it's actually going to be a proof of concept where they could sell at a marketplace.
Another quick question?
Okay. If you don't get the $4,000, how are you going to...
Keep pressing on, bootstrap, and keep going forward.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah,
now we'll move into the 5-minute segment where you will share comments with Andy.
So the first comment is that there is a polymer research laboratory, Virginia Tech, based in Danville, Virginia, that is, since it's polymer research, has selected laser sintering machines, lots of CNC machines. The capital requirements, the last time I was there, about 12 years ago, at that point was about 2.2 million, I believe, where they had Verizon, as a matter of fact, put in $1 million as some funds to get this thing started. So with that kind of capital requirement, I didn't see that capital raising in the business plan you submitted. So is that something that...
Are you phrasing that in the form of a comment, Michael?
No, I'm almost there.
Okay.
So with that on top of the internet connectivity, transferring large packet data, such as STL files, for those machines to translate, is going to be difficult in the North Country. That was my comment.
Andy, I really like this idea. I like your technical experience and background. I like your entrepreneurialism. And I like this idea because I think it has a chance to create jobs, create revenue, and start a whole bunch of small businesses. But I think it feels to me closer to being an incubator than be like a makerspace. And so I think the questions that Michael brought up earlier were very good ones, is this a non-for-profit or is this really going to be a for-profit enterprise? And I think that's a really important question to figure out.
I really like your partnership idea of partnering with other makerspaces in the area for each one to have a specialty. I think that's a really great dream. As you know, I'm pretty involved in this whole makerspace thing right now myself, and 100 people at $80 a month is a really big dream. I'm not sure that's really sustainable, and you might want to scale back that idea and think of how you can manage it with 10 people a month for a while, and and what happens when those 10 people are done with your space in 2 months, and where do you find the next 10? I think that in order to make it really work, you've got to think in some terms. I mean, people who do spaces like this are big dreamers, and you need to bring it down to reality a little bit more to make it work, I think.
Makerspaces are clearly a growing trend, and so you're in the right area, but I would also be concerned about the capital, where the capital is going to come from, and how you're going to sustain it in an area like this where there are a lot of artists, but the artists don't have a lot of money.
I think I just agree with the rest of the panel here, the judges, that this does seem, I think if you look historically at Makerspace, it's just more geared towards nonprofits just for sustainability, especially with an area of this type of density in the demographics. So I think that might be a challenge to start off with. And then just from a presentation, you may be taking notes here, but it looks like you're not paying attention to us. Getting my inner Kevin O'Leary out right now, but I think that could. So I think just when you give a presentation, doing that, and then I liked how you were walking around up there, but it does seem a little too casual sitting down here, just from a judge's standpoint.
Other comments? Okay, thank you, Andy.
Thank you, guys.
We will now take a 10-minute break.